Hi, have you ever heard a song that gave you goosebumps? What about a song that just gets stuck in your head and every time you hear it, it feels out of this world? Maybe it haunts your dreams even. And you can't explain what it is. The lyrics, the instruments, the vocals. You just can't place your finger on it. But somehow, some way, the song invades you. It haunts you in a good way. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. See, all throughout time, music has had this sort of hold on our soul. And some songs really do it for us, and some songs don't. But I really wanted to talk about where it really kind of started. I mean, we can think about, tribes. Music was always a spiritual thing. In tribes, they would make songs and create instruments out of animal skins to speak to their gods. And that's a very primitive basis to what really started all of it. But I think it really, really evolved. And today we're also going to talk about how music evolved and devolved. And if I don't finish this part, in the next part we'll talk about a comparison of what music is like today. So I really wanted to begin with the Baroque era. I believe it was the 1600s. Please don't quote me on any of this. I may be a little bit off. But the Baroque period is really where music started to take a very complex level. We look at artists like Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, Handel, and you really get a feel for it. They took their music seriously. They took it to the grave. And that's really, really what makes it so remarkable and so iconic even to this day. For me, my personal favorite would be Johann Sebastian Bach. I believe he was one of the greatest composers of all time. He had, he really instilled very complex melodies, several different melodies overlapping each other, and it evoked such an emotional, something very, I've been drinking a little bit of wine, I hope you don't mind, but it definitely evoked something in me every time I listened to it, from his concertos to his orchestral suites. Everything definitely has a different feeling to it. But sitting in a theater or sitting in an auditorium listening to Johann Sebastian Bach, that is a vibe. You should try it sometime. It really feels warm and it feels deep, like a nice deep red wine or something. It's a very beautiful, beautiful state to be in. But that's not all I wanted to talk about, because there are also certain songs that feel very brisk. There are songs that feel very melancholy. I mean, it really just depends. But it's not just about the way the music feels, but the way the artist feels as well. Pardon me for just one moment, please. I apologize for that. I wanted to give another example from that era. Mozart Amadeus. Yeah. You know, he wrote from the time he was very young to the day he died. His last final piece was his own Mozart composed his own Requiem, and I mean, on his deathbed, he was super ill, and music meant so much to him that he wanted to be remembered for his music, and during his funeral, his own song played. I mean, that's how big of a deal it was to him, and it's still a big deal even to this day. It's a very iconic thing. Not many people do that, but that's just really how music influences the writer and it influences the listener. So that's just a peek into history. If we go a few centuries later, we reach the Impressionist era. This is sort of a downgrade, in my opinion, as compared to Baroque. Baroque was very complex. It really pulled at the heartstrings. It really digs into your soul. Baroque is everything, but Impressionism is also a very interesting style. See, Impressionism didn't just reflect music, it reflected visual art as well. So, for any of my art fans out there, you may think of Monet, those very splotchy, beautiful colors, the watercolors, the flowers, the women at the park. Claude Monet was the biggest example of that. And his musical equivalent, I would say, is Claude Debussy. His music was pretty much the first, lo-fi, the study music. It's very simple, easy listening piano. Some of it's more melancholy, some of it's more brisk. It doesn't really take a whole lot of musical talent. Don't come at me about this, but I would say that it was a very more simplistic time. The point was to show that it doesn't have to be complex for it to evoke an emotion. And it did do just that. It really did. So I think that, it kind of simplified things for music. That's really how it all began. And I really want to say, after that, we got jazz, we got blues, we got rock and roll. So many different styles were born throughout each century, and they're all extremely important, and they all really do something for the soul. But I think one of the biggest deals in music is ballads. And one of the biggest things I can think of in the early times, from the 50s to the 60s, I would say is Del Shannon's Runaway. He did something people didn't really do. He just, I don't know, he got it out there. He kind of just, he laid his soul out on the line for that song, and it was very beautiful. So, some of the biggest examples for me of songs that really get into my soul would be definitely Creep by Radiohead. It's an anguish, it's melancholy, it's pain, there's something about it, something desperate, something longing about it. And then there's Love My Way by Psychedelic Furs. It feels like something incomplete, something you just can't quite grasp, something like an endless horizon. It feels like a dream that you're just walking through endlessly. It's beautiful, it's complex, and when you really read into the lyrics, you're not going to be able to tell what it means right away. It's something you have to dig into, and that's also another aspect that makes music so crazy, I guess, when the lyrics aren't completely blunt. You either have to have really strange, obscure lyrics that evoke an emotion, or you have to have really beautiful, complex instruments, I think. Those are the biggies for me. Oh, and the Beatles. We can't forget the Beatles. In the 1960s, they revolutionized music. Obviously. And I think really they did start out as kind of a punk rock scene, and it drove people nuts. I knocked over my table. I'll be right back. My apologies. It really drove people nuts even to this day. But as I was saying, they evoked the satanic panic, and that was sort of more like a censorship thing. But we're talking about the sound of music, how it makes people feel. They started off with that, but I think definitely as the 1960s came around and Technicolor came out, they really, really explored. Strawberry Fields Forever, Penny Lane, Blue Jay Way, pretty much everything during that time was so very beautiful. in an indescribable way. It may have sounded weird to everybody, and I think they definitely were experimenting, they were playing around with the shrooms or whatever, but it birthed something to this day untouchable. And I mean, you'll still hear artists even now that sound very much like the Beatles. They're influenced. I think that even Cage the Elephant had a little bit of a bit of the Beatles touch. But it's just remarkable to hear. I mean, Penny Lane is a very brisk, mellow, beautiful song. And then Blue Jay Way is a very kind of spooky, anxious song. And then you got Strawberry Fields, which is just a roller coaster of feelings. I mean, if you know, you know. You gotta feel it in your soul. But even if you don't feel it, you might be able to hear why it might mean that much to somebody. So yeah, they definitely revolutionized that. They really brought back soul into songs. I mean, every generation has an artist that has at least one song that really gets people to feel something, makes them come alive. And that's just what's so great about music. It's not just about the message that you're sending out or discovering new instruments or new styles. It's about bringing people together with those indescribable emotions. And that's kind of really just the basics of where I'm starting right now. So if any of you have any kind of song that does something like that to you, make sure to drop it in the comments and I'll give it a listen. I always love music that gives more than just something pleasant to listen to. So yeah, see ya.